Welcome aboard. It's Captain Steve. Today we're going to be installing a new air conditioning system into our 38-foot Irwin. This is a Mermaid unit, and the videos that I've reviewed online have not really covered all the details. So today we're going to walk you through every single step for installation on the Mermaid unit. Again, it is a very simple system. Mermaid does an excellent job in laying all the parts out for you. And making sure that anyone who has a little bit of knowledge can go ahead and install this unit. That's what we're going to try to get done today. And if you of course have any questions or sponsorships, we would love to talk to you. Please contact us at the website. So welcome aboard, and let's get started. All right, this is the space that we're going to be using. In a previous video I made about electric in the boat, all of this was exposed and you could see where everything was hooked up. A lot of Irwins still have this opening space between the chart table on one side and the galley on the other. It previously was populated with another Mermaid unit like the new one we're installing. It was positioned over here. What I'm doing is I'm taking all of that. We're opening the space up so that my wife can have her microwave in here, and we can possibly have another shelf for storage in this area. This will all eventually be walled in, and that will be a separate video that I will make later for that. Today we've got the Irwin in the boat, and it's sitting here. A couple things that you want to, Irwin is very good. There's three basic parts to this, but they give you all kinds of little attachments like this little clip here. One of the things that you will notice when you get the Irwin in its box is that it has three mounting screws, and they'll be down through a piece of OSB in the bottom of the box. Hang on to those screws, because those stainless steel screws are what we eventually will mount this to the top of this piece here with, once we've kind of got it all moved around. This machine we are moving towards as close as we can to this area here. So eventually there will be a wall here with a vent that will allow air to travel into this. Another nice feature about the unit, its filter is attached with Velcro here on the sides, so that you can take this off and wash it and then put it right back in, stretch it over that Velcro and put it right back up again. So hopefully those coils will stay wonderfully nice over the lifetime of the unit. I'll go to the other side and show you what the rest of the unit looks like. There's a lot of different calculations for taking in your size. We've chosen to go with a 16,500 BTU unit. This will supply enough heat and air for the main salon and our master stateroom. The V-berth will get a little overflow, but it won't be cooled by this unit. That's going to take a separate one at another time. So this is what the main unit looks like. This is the area we're going to install it in. So let me show you next the heart of this unit. Alright, this is really the most important part that comes with it. Of course, the main unit does all the work, but here's where all the electronics go into. Mermaid does a fabulous job in making everything easy. This is where the controls for the thermostat are going to be connected. This is where the power for the pump that pumps the water into from the outside in, and then brings it to the unit for cooling. And also the main power are hooked up right here on the side of the unit. Notice how wonderfully marked it is, so everybody can figure that out. And the ground is hooked to that. On the other side of the unit is where you plug in basically the cord that comes out of the heating and air conditioning part of the system, and it plugs right into the back of this, and you are set to go. So we will be rigging that up in just a few moments. Right, the third part of the installation is the thermostat. The thermostat, we've gone ahead and positioned it first and gotten it ready to go. The wires have been brought up. Mermaid gives you about 50 feet of electrical cord, so you can run these wires wherever you think the thermostat needs to go. The suggestion is that it is positioned away from any vents out of the sunshine and away from the air intake. So for this unit, our air intake is basically going to be about right here, and then we're going to have another port coming out this way to blow cool or warm air into the cabin on this side of it, the imaginary wall that will be right here one day. That will blow out this side, and similarly for the other side as well, blowing air towards the galley area over on that side. So a separate video to get that all done as well. So this is what the other side does. They do a very good job at Mermaid telling you don't lift here, don't pull on this, don't pull on that, because these parts will break if you start yanking on them pretty good. Here is the cord that hooks into the electrical box. So once we have that positioned, then really the last step with that is connecting it in. So so we're going to go ahead and start getting our hoses together for the next process. All right, what we're going to be doing right now is replacing the tubing that comes out of the pump motor through the. Make sure you shut off your through hull so you don't have a bunch of water spewing up there. And we're going to be removing this pipe primarily because we have the old system doesn't fit the new system, so we've got to add another length of pipe. This pipe, all this pipe is just common household heater that you would use on a hot water heater kind of thing. It's 5/8 inch in diameter, and we're going to be replacing it with a little longer piece so that we can get all the way over to our in valve on there. All right, so I'm going to be cutting another piece of pipe and then snaking that back down through here. All right, so the hoses are hooked up. This is, and they're well marked here, as you can see. Mermaid's done a good job in putting that markings all over everything. There's water out. This is the water going out of the boat from the unit, and this is the water in. That's what we just brought up from. We'll go down here. That's what we just brought up from our pump, which is right there beside the box. We just brought a new line up that snakes around. I'm not replacing the exiting water pump. This is just a connection to it. It goes again all the way to the stern of the boat, which is probably a good 30 feet, and under a lot of stuff that I can't get to. So I am not going to do it. We're just going to we're going to use the old patch that the previous unit had and worked fine for years on, and keep it the way it is. One of the things that has changed from, let me mention this. When you are making your connections, Mermaid puts these little orange caps on the, and sometimes when they paint, you can't even see it. It looks, this one was painted black and looked like it was part of the unit. So make sure that you pull those off before you, and you can chuck them because they're not, once they're just on there, I think, for when they painted the system. So anyway, that aside, once you've got your tubing in, then you can kind of figure out, well, where am I going to put my electrical connection? The nice thing about the box, compared to the old one, which was hardwired into the unit and only had a certain length of cord, this one, of course, has the plug in it, so you can put it anywhere you want within, gosh, 5 feet of this unit. So I've been playing with some ideas. One is here. Again, these little brackets that they have put on, I wish those were removable, but it's part of the box itself. This could be mounted up here on the ceiling, probably right in this area. That would not be a bad positioning for it right there. That way it is kind of up and out of the way. The air handler, of course, is going to be coming up and going this way and that way, and then to the stern going that way. So we're going to have a lot more tubing going in this area. Putting it down here next to the unit puts it on the ground, and if there was any water flow next to the electrical, that could be bad. So I'm going to experiment with putting it up on the ceiling part of this area and see if we can perhaps mount it there without too much interference in it. So I'm going to check that out and get back to you. Okay, I did decide to go with the box on the top As you can see there, putting it up kind of out of the way. Again, right, the vent is going to come up here. It's got to come around the back because there's a hole back there that vents the stateroom. So it's still going to come this way. So this should be pretty much out of the way. Some of the things that you want to be aware of when you're connecting it in. This is where your main power is going to be coming in. So power from the control panel, your breaker, comes into the top. Those are easily marked white and black. Your ground is a pole right underneath here that you may need a socket wrench or something to get to. Your pump motor, again, gets power through the same thing. Oftentimes the black will be a brown cabling and the white will be a blue cabling, with the green cabling being the ground that comes back, again, plugging into that part there. So just be cautious of that. Now the other thing is this little screwdriver. This little screwdriver you will need to tighten up those little nuts that are in there that press against that back plate back there and get you your power. Again, the recommendation is to make this accessible. So again, there'll be a panel here that can be removed so that this area can be accessed, and all this stuff can be worked on. The next thing I'm going to be doing is bringing over my thermostat cable, and I'm going to be just plugging it into to where it is. It's red, green, white, blue, and just go ahead and plug them in. Mermaid does give you some connectors, so you just put those on and slide those in, and that's all she is. So we'll hook that up and I'll show you what it looks like. Before I was talking about the mounting brackets, you get a little S-hook bracket in the package as well. That's going to go right there, and then the bolt will go through that. Underneath here, and I don't know why Mermaid does this, but there's a pad that probably should be glued onto that, but it's a soundproofing pad, so the unit is not resting directly on the wood. There's a pad underneath here that hopefully will provide some soundproofing for the unit. Before you get it installed, though, go ahead and put that pad in there, because once you get it set, the thing weighs a lot, so just make sure you're being careful with yourself. Alright, so what we did is everything is hooked up. We have our tubing in place. We have all of our electrical in place. We've gone ahead and hooked up the thermostat controls. All the wiring is here. We've gone ahead and plugged in the back of this. We've plugged in the harness to the system. So everything is operational. The thermostat has been set to a heating setting because it's winter right now. But we're going to it has a delay, and we may have to come back and reset it again to allow all the computer controls and things like that to get together. So right now we're going to start rounding up the tubing that we need for getting this thing around the corner here. This is a 5.5 inch opening, and this material, this is just kind of stapled on here. So if you wanted to build a box to provide cool venting out, we're probably going to use PVC tubing to allow us to get everywhere we need to go with all this. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that stuff down in the boat, and then we will show you what else we're going to do. Get the last steps is getting all of this conduit hooked up and headed in the right direction. And then lastly, we start doing our fun part, which is woodworking, where we're going to be go ahead and put everything back together, bolt the unit down to where it needs to be, and get it all buttoned up. All right, so there's what we got. We did this within just a few hours. We went ahead and gone ahead and then put our box in and the unit in and the thermostat in, so everything is in position for us to go ahead and run the conduit and get that situated, and then hopefully we'll have the unit running before it gets to be too dark tonight. Something else that I needed to do was the drain is on the basically a catty corner to the everything else. All the other hoses are back here on this side, and the drain is over here. Makes it a little difficult. So Mermaid, if you can put the drains on the same side, it always is helpful. The previous Mermaid had all their hose connections coming up through a hole through the engine room. So what I've done is I've just moved the drain hose over here. I have used a connection for outside sprinkler systems. It has a threaded 1/2 inch end to it and a 3/8 inch on the other end of it. Basically I just put some 1/2 inch tubing on there and then shoved it on and tightened it down with a hose clamp. So that should be pretty good and drain properly. And again, I'll come back and fill these holes with some spray foam, just because it just keeps some of the gases out from the engine room out of the compartment here. So we have temporarily rigged this up because it's getting late in the day, but I did want to get some heat back to the stateroom, so this is temporary. This will all come off tomorrow. I'm building a box that will go over this plastic 5.5 inch unit top on here. We want a vent coming this way and one going that way, and we want, you know, the main salon to be covered as well. So the 4-inch tubing is going to go there. We'll probably have 2-inch tubing coming out either side of this once that all gets done. So we are continuing the process. This was day one of figuring out how we're going to get everything. It has run. It has cycled through. It's set on heat setting right now. So it's cycling through, and we checked our hose connections and nothing's leaking. So it all looks good. And we will continue the process tomorrow, but on your video it'll be within 30 seconds. All right, welcome back. Thanks. We are in the process of still working on our Mermaid air conditioning system that we're installing here on the boat. Today I'm constructing the distribution box, or the way that the air gets out of the main chute of the AC unit and gets distributed out to the different parts. Ours is a 3-way system. We have 3 pipes going from it. So what I have constructed is basically this box, just has some scrap wood, and gone ahead and put this plastic material in here. We're using silicone to seal up all the edges, and then we will give it a little coat of paint to kind of seal up the wood. But this is basically the distribution box that was with the old unit, but it was only a 2 vent system. This is a 3, so we've got 1 main coming out of the top, and then we have 2 sides coming off of it. So this should allow the system, and again, it's just scrap pieces of wood. It's going to fit over. I can show you the bottom just a little bit if I can get a handle on it here. It's open to the bottom, so there's a big hole down there where that 5.5 inch pipe for the Mermaid comes up. And again, we'll be siliconing in all the edges. I'm sure there's a lot better craftsmen out there that would make a beautiful box, but this is just making a box out of scrap, so that's where we're going. So again, we're going to silicone this. We're going to lay it down on top of the unit so that it can vent out to all 3 stations in the boat. All right, so we'll go back downstairs and I'll show you what that looks like. That's what the installed unit looks like. You can see all the way down in there and all the way over there. And right now it's got that pipe on the top connected. These 2 will go to pieces that will be flush against this wall here, emptying out on both sides. But tested it, and it is in good shape, so blowing out. And so there you have it. Our new Mermaid is installed, and we've got our coverings on it, and it's running beautifully. It's not as quiet as I thought it would be, but it is much quieter than our previous unit was. So just the steps to be involved. Again, Mermaid is a wonderful company to work with. They have a lot of other options that you can get with your unit. So just discuss with them what you're doing and where you're placing it. This is not a project that you cannot do on your own. It is relatively simple if you've got a little bit of knowledge about electrical and plumbing and HVAC. So I encourage you to do it. Again, start with where do you want that thermostat to sit. Again, it needs to be out of the sun. It needs to be out of direct contact with either the incoming air or the outflowing air, so that it doesn't mess up on you. Then once you've got the thermostat located where you want it, then placing the unit, getting your duct work together. Again, pump motors for pumping the water into the unit, and then pumping it back out of the unit, making sure all your connections are properly done. Again, the electrical package that Mermaid has is fabulous, because everything's just plugging in. So it's really easy, simple process to do. So encourage you to do it, and if you have any other questions, please email me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about installing the Mermaid air conditioning system. Thanks. Have a good sale.